On today's episode, I'm going to tell you why Tyler Warren, Colston Loveland, and Jalen Royals will have major impacts for their offenses in 2025.
You are Locked On NFL Draft, your daily podcast covering the NFL Draft. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back to the Locked On NFL Draft Podcast, your daily podcast covering your favorite draft prospects, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm your boy, Damian Parson. I'm an NFL draft analyst with Bleacher Report. And guys, thank you as always for making Locked On NFL Draft your first listen today and every day. Shout out for being our everydayers. We have a fun one here. Going to be talking about impact rookie pass catchers. Tyler Warren should be the top target for the Indianapolis Colts. Jalen Royals potentially stepping into that Rasheed Rice role once Rasheed Rice faces that suspension, and then Colston Loveland maybe getting ready to usurp Cole Kmet as tight end one. We'll talk about that. But before we get into all of it, guys, today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code Locked On NFL for $20 off your first purchase. Tyler Warren, the 14th overall pick in the 2025 NFL draft. And as anybody, if you're everydayer, thank you. Shout out to you. If you're not an everydayer, I had this conversation with you before. Why not? Let's fix that, right? But become an everydayer, right? Subscribe, all of it on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever. You know what I mean? But back to the conversation. We talked about Tyler Warren, Colston Loveland. There was a clear-cut debate this past draft season about who was tight end one. Keith and I on this podcast had Colston Loveland, but the tight end two was far and away. It was Tyler Warren. I believe the only two first-round grades I gave for tight ends for the scouting season last year with Bleacher Report were to Colston Loveland and to Tyler Warren, and they weren't separated by much. So when you think about a 6'6", 6'5", 250-pound tight end who's really good with the ball in his hands after the catch, what Tyler Warren brings, in my opinion, why he probably should be the most impactful pass catcher. Yeah, we can talk about Tedroy McMillan with the Carolina Panthers, but they have receivers, right? They have viable options. The Indianapolis Colts had one of the worst tight end rooms in all of football last year. Just inefficient, inconsistent, unreliable, right? Whether it was injuries, drop passes, not being a good athlete, or just can't get to your spots, can't beat your man. Tyler Warren can do every bit of that. He doesn't drop passes. He's a developing and good route runner, physical at the catch point, physical after the catch, nimble, right? And what this does, right? When we're hearing all the reports that from the most part, it sounds like Anthony Richardson has the leg up on Daniel Jones in this quarterback battle. But a clear-cut thing and theme is that whoever Tyler Warren's on the field with, they look his way kind of often, and they should. And my opinion is this, and I've said it time and time again. Shane Steichen did his quarterbacks no favors last year. Because why is Anthony Richardson leading the NFL per NFL Pro in deep passing percentage? 20% of his passes were 20-plus air yards down the field. That's not okay, right? But it's not just an Anthony Richardson thing. You look at the time that Joe Flacco played. He was around 13%, so he was top 5. So you had two quarterbacks on the same team inside the top 5. That's not okay. In today's NFL, especially when there's so much too high safety shells, you need to be able to dump the ball off to reliable weapons who you can trust to make plays. And I always say this, I don't care how strong you are, how big you are, how physically gifted you are. Study Tom Brady. Study Tom Brady and take those boring throws, that 5-yard check down. And I think that's where Tyler Warren comes in. Tyler Warren comes into this offense for the Indianapolis Colts, and he gives them what I always call an easy button, right? Remember, I'm going to date myself a little bit. Remember the easy bake oven all the little girls had growing up? You need an easy button for your offense, man. And you think about what Pat Mahomes has had with Travis Kelce, what Brock Purdy has had in San Fran with George Kittle when they do factor George Kittle into the passing attack. When, you talking about Tom Brady, Rob Gronkowski, right? We've seen it. We've seen the effects of a legitimate tight end and what that tight end can do for your offense, man. Mark Andrews and Lamar Jackson. I'm gonna say this. That's if I'm Shane Steichen, that's what I want for Anthony Richardson, right? Because at the end of the day, everybody in Indianapolis, right? I know that the Jim Irsay, rest in peace, I believe one of his daughters or his daughter, who's taken over the ownership, if I remember correctly. Don't completely quote me, but I know that she has come out and spoke well and glowingly of in support of Anthony Richardson. So yeah, it's jobs are on the line if A-Rich doesn't get it done, or if he's not put in the position to get it done, or if he's not given a fair shake. So at the end of the day, Shane Steichen, you want your job, Chris Ballard, your jobs are tied to this young man, right? Going into his third year, hope to be his first full season without injuries, right? He hasn't had that yet. So it's still time on task in terms of reps. And I think if he gets that this year and he stays healthy, we see a elevation in his game. But at the same time, let's think about this, right? It gets to a point where you're saying, hey, for me, I would want, if I'm saying Steichen, I would want that Lamar Jackson, Mark Andrews type of connection between Anthony Richardson and Tyler Warren. I want Tyler Warren to be my Mark Andrews, that guy that can be a 3-level tight end that can, especially in the short to intermediate. Listen, what Tom Brady used to do was he'll dink and dunk you, he'll dink and dunk you, death by 1,000 cuts. And when those safeties start creeping up to the line of scrimmage, closer to the line of scrimmage, trying to take away those choice and option routes to Edelman and Welker and Deion Branch and Troy Brown and everything like that, you know what he did? Fire that seam ball 15, 20, 30 yards down the field to Rob Gronkowski, or when he had fast receivers or receivers that can get over the top, he got it. He got it to them down the field because he got the everything is a numbers game in the NFL, in football, period. It's a numbers game. So again, if you can alter and dictate and manipulate the numbers, it helps the quarterback. And I think a guy like Tyler Warren, listen, again, Tyler Warren's my tight end too. That was no knock. First round grade on him. But I think situations matter so much. He comes in, and I'm saying this. Yes, they have Michael Pittman Jr., who they paid. They have Adonai Mitchell, who's struggling right now in camp with drops, right? They have Josh Downs, who one of my favorite receivers coming out over the last couple of years. But he hasn't been able to stay healthy. Alec Pierce, one of my guys too, is taking that step forward. He's going, he's this camp looks like going to be this might be the year Alec Pierce, right? But at the end of the day, they don't have a true number one, and it's a good, not great group. Having a guy like Tyler Warren, to me, I usher him in as my number one, at worst, number two option. Because I want Anthony Richardson to emphasize. I want to emphasize to him. I want the priority to be run the ball, play action, dump offs, flats, quick hitches, things of that nature, spot concepts, all of that, right? Mesh, everything. And he starts hitting those underneath routes early in games, settle in. Now you can take the deep shot when it's there. Now you can get that one-on-one and you identify that one-on-one. You call can, and you see, I have that, right? And now you start, because what you want to do is force teams. The biggest mismatch on any football field is a legitimate tight end, and there's no other bigger mismatch. Because you put a nickel corner on them, too small. Put a linebacker on them, not athletic enough. Put a safety on them, athletic enough, but still too small, doesn't have the size to deal with it. So, yeah, man, I'm telling you right now, Tyler Warren may be the most impactful rookie heading into the 2025 NFL season. And I believe once we get there, he should be the regular season. Once we get there, he should be their number one, at worst, number two option for the Indianapolis Colts. If so, their offense is going to look a lot smoother, a lot more efficient, and honestly, be a lot more potent with everything else that they have around the young tight end. But coming up next, as we go to Kansas City, team that lost the Super Bowl, they re-upped. They went and got Jalen Royals. Is this guy going to step into Rasheed Rice's shoes whenever that situation is handled and that suspension is handed out? We'll talk about that coming up next. This episode is presented by Yahoo Fantasy. Fantasy football is back. Fire up the group chat, get your draft board ready, and buckle up for a season filled with breakouts, bust, and all the overreactions we live for. It's all going down on Yahoo Fantasy. And this year, me and the Locked On NFL Draft podcast are playing on Yahoo Fantasy, and you should too. Whether you're a first timer or a veteran making your millionth league, to celebrate 28 years of fantasy greatness, Yahoo Fantasy is dropping 28 big new features over 28 days, giving you more ways to play, more ways to draft, and more ways to win. And it all begins on August 4th. Stay tuned and get started by creating or joining a Yahoo Fantasy Football League at yahoofantasy.com/lockedonnfl. That's yahoofantasy.com/lockedonnfl. And let's make this fantasy season the best one yet. Again, go to yahoofantasy.com/lockedonnfl. Fourth round pick to the Kansas City Chiefs, 6 foot, 205 pounds. Jalen Royals out of Utah State. And if you listen, again, if you've been an everydayer, you know that this was one of Dame's dudes, one of my guys. And it was a big thing for me. Seen him at the Senior Bowl, wasn't 100% healthy, but he had a good showing out there. No nonsense guy, physical, suddenness, quickness, breakaway speed, great hands, right? But yards after the catch. And he, to me, it was the insurance policy, number one, for that Rasheed Rice role. If you go back to the Baltimore Ravens game last year, right, when they played them week one, Rasheed Rice was out there cooking. And he was cooking the linebackers for the Baltimore Ravens. I saw multiple times last year in that first game. That first game, guys, he was targeted 9 times, 7 catches, 103 yards. He averaged 15 yards per catch in that game. And the thing about that game was I saw him on Roquan Smith more times than I'd like to, right? I don't want to see Roquan on a Rasheed Rice, but that was the brilliance of Andy Reid and the play caller, the mad hatter, the mad scientist that he is. I love what he does, right? Now, the whole the speeding incident, the high speed incident last year in Dallas on the interstate that caused a multi-car crash. I think I don't believe Rasheed Rice was driving, but he was in the car. I think it was his car. Him and his friends left the scene, right? People, all that type of stuff. Like, there was a whole uproar. He did not get suspended last year. He ended up getting hurt. Some people say karma. I'm not about that. But I will say this. They're expecting him to be suspended this year. Like, so if it's a multi-game suspension, 3 or 4 games to kick off the 2025 NFL season, Rasheed Rice came into the combine when he was drafted 6'1", 204, 205 pounds. He ran like a 4.52, 4.51 when the 1.49, 10-yard split, right? Again, Jalen Royals, 6 foot, 204, 205 pounds, ran a 4.42, I believe, with a 1.49, 10-yard split. Body types are similar. He can fill that power slot role to where you don't be surprised we wake up week one. It's the first game of the season for the Chiefs. And if Rasheed Rice has been handed that suspension and we have Jalen Royals in the lineup to start the game, he's in the slot, he's matched up on linebackers, matched up on safeties, and he walks out of there with 10 receptions, 120 yards, and 2 touchdowns, right? To go with, because he gives a different skill set than a Hollywood Brown. That's pure speed, right? Then Xavier Worthy, who's speed and route running and deep threat and yak, right? He gives you strength, power. Yak also speed, creativity with the ball in his hands, like all of that stuff. He and the reviews coming out of, and the reviews and reports coming out of Chiefs camp has said that since like OTAs, he's been impressing since he got there at rookie minicamp. But reports have been since OTAs, right? Hollywood Brown was coming back off the injury. Rasheed Rice was also not practicing due to coming back off the, I think, ACL or whatever it may have been. So when you think about the fact that this young man took, because it's opportunities come through injuries, but it's all about what you do with those opportunities. Do you take the bull by the horns, or does that bull buck you off and back kick you into the next stratosphere? Well, Jalen Royals said, I'm going to take the bull by the horns, and I'm going to be the matador that overcomes this bull, and I'm going to take my opportunities, and I'm going to take care of business. And that's what he did. So when you think about the fact that he saw opportunity, they gave him the opportunity. Not Hollywood Brown, Xavier Worthy talked about how, his mental acumen, him and Andy Reid, they both doubled down separately right? Talking about how much of a fast learner he is, how hard of a worker he is. He came in and they've thrown a lot at him, and he's picked it up quickly. So when you're impressing Andy Reid from a mental standpoint, remember Sky Moore out of Western Michigan a couple years ago? People were super hyped. Fantasy community was, just pumping them to the high heavens. And I was like, guys, I don't know. I'm not there yet. Film wasn't that impressive. Not really a big fan. I felt like he could be a solid rotational guy, but they were looking at him being the next wide receiver one. No, you know what I mean? Not a chance. And then you got to factor in the mental battle to learn, go from Western Michigan to the NFL and to learn Andy Reid's offense, learn it quick enough, but also gain chemistry with the best, if not just one of the best quarterback in the NFL in Pat Mahomes. There's a lot of pressure, right? So that was tough for Sky Moore to even do. Jalen Royals coming in from Utah State said, I don't care about any of that. I'm picking it up. And reports have been that his timing with routes and spots and chemistry has been legitimate with Pat Mahomes. And it's growing. So when you see number 11 in the slot in practice, you see number 11 in the slot, I'm going to just say this. We got the Hall of Fame game this week. Football is back, baby. Football is back. I can't wait to have Keith back on tomorrow. And we talk about some more training camp stuff. We still got some 2026 NFL draft rankings that we have to get done and everything. But still, when you talk about like excited for football being back, once we get to that first Chiefs preseason game or the first action in the preseason, if we see Pat Mahomes and the first team offense, they usually at least get 1 to 2 drives in the preseason, most teams with their starters. Don't be surprised you see number 11, Jalen Royals, out there with Hollywood Brown and 11 personnel and Travis Kelce and Xavier Worthy. Yeah, man. I'm preparing you. I'm just preparing you, man. I'm excited for what this means. And I'm not going to sit here and be like, oh, Jalen Royals is going to take Rasheed Rice's job. No, I don't think that's the case. He's just versatile enough because no one else can fill that role. Worthy's not strong enough, not big enough, doesn't have the body type to do it, right? Hollywood Brown, same thing. Small receiver, short receiver, doesn't have the strength and the physicality and the toughness physically to deal with that type of power slot role where you got to be the glue guy, right? You're going to get the deep ball eventually to either Hollywood Brown or Xavier Worthy over the top, long ball, touchdown, 50, 60 yards. And you're like, man, what a play. Exciting. The crowd, is juiced up. Okay? All of that, right? All of that may be true. But you don't have anybody that can take and be the glue guy, do the dirty work in the paint, between the hashes, dealing with linebackers and safeties converging and trying to knock them out of the game, physical hits, everything, working in traffic. Those guys don't have to do that. You need somebody built and suited for that. That is Jalen Royals. So don't be surprised if he's out there whenever that suspension is handed down. I would not be surprised if we get 4 games and it's the first 4 games of the season that there is no Rasheed Rice. Yes, Juju Smith-Schuster's still there. Doesn't have the juice. Doesn't have the speed. Juju don't have the juice. So I'd rather put Jalen Royal, who I know not only can he run the same routes, he can get open, he can beat zone, he's intelligent, he knows he's picking up this offense at a very rapid pace and building that chemistry with Mahomes on a very rapid pace. But also he's got the speed. The once I get the ball to him, he can then take it the distance. He's even faster than Rasheed Rice. Okay, so talking about top end long speed. So that's how I look at that situation, guys. That's how I think about that situation. But coming up next, we're gonna talk about Colston Loveland and he's back at camp. He's healthy. He's working out. He's ready to go. What does that mean for the 2025 Bears offense and Ben Johnson's offense? Can Colston Loveland be an impactful rookie? We'll talk about that. Well, the answer is yes. We'll talk about that coming up next. We've all been there, logging on early and waiting for concert tickets to go on sale, only to lose your spot to a show or for a show you've been dying to see, like Beyonce, Chris Brown, whoever. Live music should be about making memories and not dealing with the stress of ticket shopping. That's where Game Time comes in. Game Time makes getting concert tickets faster and easier than ever. Prices actually drop as it gets closer to showtime, and you can save up to 60% off with their killer last-minute deals. Tired of endless scrolling trying to find the best deal? Game Time's Zone Deals picks the best seats in your section for you. So take the guesswork out of buying concert and show tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, use the redeem code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. Last minute tickets, lowest prices guaranteed. Thank you for making Locked On NFL Draft your first listen today and every day. Shout out for being our everydayers. My tight end one, our tight end one, the Locked On NFL Drafts tight end one for the 2025 NFL Draft. Colston Loveland has now, he's healthy. Remember, he had a shoulder injury throughout the season of 2024 last year with Michigan. He played and battled on that shoulder all year. It impacted his blocking and everything else. And he came to the combine. He wasn't able to test or do any workouts all offseason. All draft season, all offseason. Now he is back and paired with Cole Kmet, the veteran. And I think that he's the future. I think there's a chance that he could be the present. When you look at what Colston Loveland can be in this offense, we saw Ben Johnson use Sam Laporta as that athletic tight end. He can get him out on tight end leaks, in the flats, in the shallow parts, but also down the field. And that was with Sam Laporta, who I liked, right? But if you watch the tape of both of these guys, yeah, Colston Loveland's a better athlete, right? That long leg, that galloper. But he's a 6'5", 6'6", 245 pounds and everything. But you see him move like a big power slot receiver. He can be a functional blocker, and there's still a lot of upside for him as he grows even more into his body now in the NFL weight program, right? But if he can be just functional to above average as a blocker, that's fine. He can be an absolute dangerous receiving tight end, right? And I think that's what's so enticing. Now with Ben Johnson there, we have Caleb Williams, who are trying to get a better second year out of, right? And it's going to take some time in this new offense, right? But you have Rome Odunze. You have DJ Moore, okay? So those two, of course, top two wide receivers in that room. And I think we should see plenty of 12 personnel. Run the ball. We saw the Detroit Lions run the ball. Here's the thing, and why I think you need to be in 12. You get the best of both worlds. Cole Kmet's going to be the really good run blocker. You use Colston Loveland as that extra chip blocker, double team, climb to the second level type of guy. But also you can go no huddle with some offensive success. Okay, 1st and 10, we get 5 yards on the run, 7 yards on the run. Hey, we can go no huddle and tire out that Brian Flores defense, right? And we're in base, but we can go empty, go 5 wide, right? Or at least 4 wide, whatever. Depending on what running back you have back there. Because if you got DeAndre Swift, who's a good receiver out of the backfield and talented, you could go 5 wide, right? And get him matched up. But you can go double, twins in a sense, right? You know what I mean? 2x2 sets where you have both the tight ends split into the slot. You got Rome, you got DJ out wide, or you can mix it up and put the receivers inside the slot, put the tight ends out wide, and create absolute chaos for the defense. Point is, gives you a lot of flexibility to stress opposing defenses, especially ones that want to play man. Okay, you want to play heavy man? That's fine. We'll manipulate that, right? Keith always talks about how much and we're both similar in that regard with corners. I like corners to be able to play man, but in today's NFL, zone at times can be king. You got to be able to play both, but you got to be able to start with zone. So for me, it's like, yeah, like I can force you into coverages that you may not want to run. And I think with Colston Loveland, his ability to detach from the line of scrimmage, to be that move tight end, to be that athletic tight end that can stretch the seam, run the post routes, all those type of things. Also get the ball to him in space and let him work off of blocks and get down the sideline. He can be a very impactful guy. And I think for me, what you want, because I don't think that's is going to be there for Cole Kmet. I don't know if they're going to actually let him be the security or safety blanket. But a young quarterback's safety blanket is typically the tight end. Again, it's the biggest mismatch on the field, and it's a bigger target, and usually the biggest target on the field, and it's easier to get the ball to them compared to trying to get it out wide against a number 1 corner or number 2 corner, or trying to get into the slot and you got a linebacker, they got bracket coverage trying to take that away. Right. So I think with the size of Aroma Dunze, the size and length and wingspan of a Colston Loveland, they also have Luther Burton the third. We'll see whenever he gets in the field, he's healthy, all those type of things. The offseason and spring workouts have not been kind to him. It's like he's been dealing with like a hamstring or something like that. So you take it easy with that, unless he's ready to go. But still, yeah, at the end of the day, I look at this particular situation and I say to myself, man, I think Colston Loveland can have a big time impact on this team in 2025. Like I said, 12 personnel and everything, and then he can split out as your big power slot and get him matched up with a linebacker, get him matched up with a safety, and create complete and utter chaos, guys. But that's the show today, talking about impact rookies for the 2025 NFL season. Colston Loveland, the young tight end for the Chicago Bears. Jalen Royals, a 4th-round wide receiver out of Utah State for the Kansas City Chiefs. And then Tyler Warren, the do-it-all Swiss Army knife tight end himself for the Indianapolis Colts, and why he should be their number 1 receiving option, at worst number 2. But guys, as always, go subscribe and follow for free on YouTube, wherever you listen to podcasts, to get the latest episode as soon as it is available. Thank you so much for making Locked On NFL Draft your first listen today and every day. Shout out for being our everydayers. Go leave a 5-star comment and review, letting us know how excited you are about the football season. Matter of fact, something we're doing, I want to do different this year. Drop some mock drafts, do some comments, drop on Apple Podcast, Spotify, and drop like a mock draft in the comments. Leave a 5-star comment and review. Drop your mock for your favorite team. We'll review it here on the pod and let you know what we think about it. We'll grade it for you at the end of the shows when we get to those comments. So please do that for us. And on tomorrow's show, we're going to talk about the Saints quarterback battle, Spencer Rattler versus Tyler Shuck. We'll talk about that on tomorrow's show. So come join the conversation again tomorrow on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.